Experience the new alternative.
I want to rock!
We're cramming more music into every hour that we can. More music, less talk, here on Neo Retro FM.
These beats are hot. Hot. In the mix with the baddest DJ.
Sponge, otherwise known as Chocolate Thunder, coming to you from Parkland. You're listening to Hook, Line, and Thinker. Cheers.
Hi guys, we are Soldiers of Monochrome. We are live on Neo Retro FM.
Just like that. During the tape, Reagan's face seems to fall apart. Let's see.
Hello.
There we go.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, it's actually evening here. So.
It is evening. What time is it there?
It's 7 o'clock. I'm even more red than usual because I'm coming straight from sauna. Sauna. So yeah. So Thursday is our sauna evening.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet. I am so. I don't know. This is a pretty cool moment for me because you guys have been on my radar. Gosh, since shortly after the Before You Leave back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago. Yeah.
And so to watch it evolve, it's like, yeah, this is pretty cool stuff. I was going to ask, and do you want me to refer to you as James or is it Yari or?
Well, both work. I mean, it's a little bit like Bruce Wayne and Batman. So when I'm in the studio, I'm James, and at home I'm just I'm Yari, or I'm actually Dad, or Do It. It's like
okay.
I got 2 daughters and a wife, so I'm like the fourth one in the command chain. so at home I'm definitely not James. I'm not the one in charge.
I gotcha. But do you wear cool costumes though?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
So what I was going to say, what's new? This is the first album that's you guys have done since Queen of the Wave.
Yeah, well, we've been working on quite a few things. We and I'll also do producing for other artists, and because this has been even more complex than all the previous. I mean, we started with the idea that let's this time do something a little bit smaller, even like a really singer-songwriter thing. And
okay.
Immediately our friend Lauri Porra calls us. He's the great-grandson of Jean Sibelius, the most famous Finnish composer ever. So
wow.
big classical name. This is his great-grandson, and Lauri calls like, I've got an orchestra session coming next week, so would you be willing to record, write something for that? So there goes our idea of keeping it small. So the first ever session for the new album was a full symphony orchestra, and that was the beginning. So
how cool.
And kind of we used the stalagpipe organ as a sort of a master key. The original idea was just to kind of collect a few unusual instruments, but it's like once the door started opening, we kind of couldn't stop. And everything, every new contact led to another contact, like going from Cambridge University to universities in Germany, and ended up in Toronto University recording the world's first synthesizer and that kind of stuff. So it was almost impossible to return from the trip back to actually, making the music and finishing the album. So
wow.
The plan was like, let's this time work faster than before, and we ended up spending more time than ever. So
okay. But one of the things that I think is so remarkable about your guys' music is that it's brought to the forefront this whole new fascination and appreciation, I think, on the market for experimental pop or experimental rock because of the fact that, like the organ that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Some of the instruments. No wonder you called call your music such a journey and such a trip. Look where it's taken you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But some of the instruments that you guys have utilized is just amazing.
Yeah, and even it's quite weird. I mean, even if you think about the great stalagpipe organ, which is sort of is it the largest musical instrument ever? It's sort of competing with some huge pipe organs, but by the area it covers, it's definitely the largest. And it's been built in, I think it was like early 50s, like 1953, and it's every year people have been visiting. Like 500,000 people have seen it. But nobody kind of saw it as a musical instrument that you can write for before, me and Paul wrote the tune. So it took like decades. And that's realizing that, we are still sort of kind of limited in seeing and realizing that what are all the things we can use for music? What are the ways of creating music? Even obvious stuff like, the largest musical ever created. I mean,
Why do you treat me like this? I only ask for a kiss. Why do you treat me like this? I only ask for a kiss. Why do you treat
ever created? I mean, you can't write music for it. It's not just something. I mean, it was kind of, because it's hidden deep down underground. It's sort of hidden there, but still like 500,000 people every year for decades, and nobody writing a single tune for it.
And then you come along.
Yeah. So it's almost like what's the magician David Copperfield? Well, it's like hidden in plain sight. It's like nobody sees it because it's a huge monster there.
Exactly, it's right there. Where is that located at?
Luray Caverns in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that I had heard of it before, but that's why it was so cool when I finally saw the first when I saw the first release that you guys had that out on. Wasn't that one?
Yeah, it's called In the Cave.
That's the one.
Because it's located in the cave. Yeah.
Off of Queen of the Wind. One of my favorite tracks, Riders of the First Ark.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord! There's something. You guys have got this amazing talent for taking like something that is so like almost like an obscure opera of some sort, but with this weird like kind of sci-fi 50s 60s twist to it. But you can't put a label on Pepe. You just can't.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah. It's sort of good, but from the perspective of the record company, it's both positive and a nightmare, because it's like, how can we sell this, and and trying to describe it. It's like, what are the other bands that sound like you? And we go like, well, so far we sort of, all of them or none of them, because we are inspired by everything.
Exactly.
Well, not that. Maybe not, Norwegian black metal. Maybe not yet. It could be the next album.
Oh my gosh!
But, the drummer actually. You said that the drummer on Riders is actually originally a grindcore metal drummer who plays that kind of math stuff. And he really enjoyed work. Yeah. Kai Hahto. He's actually now the drummer of Nightwish, the biggest opera metal band. So he's the drummer.
Okay.
So we also what we tend to do is to work with all these super nice musicians, but not putting them in their comfort zone, but instead of taking them to play other kind of things. Like let's Kai Hahto, the crazy metal drummer. Let's have him playing this down tempo big orchestra tune. And most of the time, musicians really enjoy it, because also they sort of struggle between being labeled as because it's the way to sell the music, and then wanting to having and then wanting to having the the creative freedom to do stuff they want to do and experiment.
Right. Well, and you mentioned it a moment ago too. It's the record companies usually that have a real issue with not being able to categorize something, because like you said, they do have to sell it. But as soon as you said that, though, I thought, you know what, though, even going all the way back to before you leave, the music sells itself. And it is hard to describe, but I think that I've had friends of mine that I've turned you guys on to that are just all over it like that. And actually, my best friend was going to sit in on the interview with us today, but he wasn't available. So shout out to Chad, by the way. Let me do a real quick station ID. And I've still got 100. I've got you for what, about 30 minutes today?
Yeah. A few ideas.
Okay. Okay, well, this is going to be a while, and I've only got one cup of coffee. Hey, guys, you are watching the Groove Zones, the sessions with DJ D Phoenix, and with me today, I am hanging with James Spectrum of Pepe Deluxe. I'm totally stoked. They've got a new album coming out here in the next little while, but we're not really focusing on that today because it's top secret as of the moment. So, well, top secret as you can get anyway. Anyway, Good morning, James. Or good evening.
Good morning and good evening.
There we go. We covered both bases. So you mentioned something a little while ago about inspirations. Growing up, or at least like pulling it in musically, who were some of the artists that you would listen that that you really dug and kind of took something from?
It really goes way back. I mean, I think I have a little bit older stepbrother who really, when I was listening to like everybody was listening to metal or early heavy metal like Iron Maiden in Finland, he was like, that's kids music, so you have got to check out these bands like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Jethro Tull, and he got me into that kind of stuff. That I think later returned all my love for these like big drums. But sort of, many of the original metal and proto-metal drummers were actually inspired by jazz drummers. So I have this thing where I love big drums with groove. But what really got me into music was later, because I played bass when I was a teenager for some time, and I think that saved me from all kind of nasty things like girls. so really geeky things, just like practicing bass and hanging out with other guys who were playing, and I jammed a lot with drummer, and just a drummer because nobody else showed up. So it's a bass player and drummer, and I think later that again helped me. But then when I went to army, we have to do that in Finland. It's not well.
If you have an eye for the unusual and an appetite for new experiences, then you're probably ready for the latest advance in sounds. The Supersonic Sound System. The system consists of 3 parts.
We have to do that in Finland. It's not voluntary. So after army, I kind of quit playing bass, but then techno arrived in Finland, and that was my punk rock. Realizing that you can have this, instead of instruments, you have this sound going woo woo woo. Oh yeah. And nobody else. I mean, we like a little clan of people who went into this dark little clubs I went straight into like dancing next to the big speakers. The producer in me would go back and slap myself, like, don't dance next to the speaker, think about your ears. But it was all about, the powerful energy and that kind of, that music hit us really hard. It was just like simple sounds and really punchy things. And pretty quickly, what happened was that I got this idea that, this music is so simple, I have to be able to make this kind of music myself.
Right.
Which was kind of, it's like, I think was like Adamski, one of the original techno artists. He saw Guru Joe's live and was like, that's so easy, I can do it. And then Liam from Prodigy saw Adamski and was like, I can do it, but I can do it better. And I was listening to techno, thinking I can do it too, but I couldn't because my mind is too complex. So every time I got a sample and I started making music, but it never went anywhere because there was always too many details. It takes talent to make really effective dance music. It's skill, but it sort of led me to this like long journey that via hip hop and then like scratch DJ hip hop music, I kind of found the basic cornerstones for Pepe. And I met DJs J Jazz and DJ Slow, and together that was like the beginning of Pepe. And all the influences from my beginning. This is like, sorry about the long explanation, but it's like without the path from like 60s rock and without the techno, there wouldn't be this combination of Pepe things. Whereas there's none of us were musicians. I still don't consider myself a musician, but I had the love for real music combined with the power of electronic music.
Right.
Like this unique combination with emphasis on the real music. Sorry about this, but played music.
So you never went to school or university for any?
I got a university degree, but it's in computer science. So
okay.
So it helps kind of the sort of the part of a writer and researcher and all kind of that stuff. But I've never
Really?
never any real. I mean, because we got the grading system from at school is like from 4 to 10. So my music number was always like 6 or 7.
Okay.
Because I couldn't sing and I couldn't play the flute. So yeah.
Did they send flutes home with everybody like in the 4th or 5th grade?
Yeah.
With everybody like in the 4th or 5th grade? Yeah. Because there's a big call for that later on in life.
Yeah. And later on we started using it especially Paul has a large collection of flute, and I ended up loving the sound, but I did hate it for like 3 decades.
Yeah, but it's different when you're having to play the old like Finnish standards on it though,
Yeah.
Wow. I think it's interesting though that you don't consider yourself a musician.
No, not at all.
Isn't that wild? I mean, and I totally get that, but they're again.
I'm more like a director. I mean, I can play a little bit, but I don't consider myself like a person who can kind of make instruments come alive. So I can use them as tools to create things that I want, but I don't consider myself as I don't sleep with my I should probably sleep with my compressors, like musicians, like guitar players sleep with their guitar. So I don't have that thing. I just use them as tools.
It's a good thing you don't sleep with the organ. Yeah. Wow.
This is maybe a little bit problematic because I actually play the musicians, so I could sort of sleep with them, but I'm not sure if their wives or husbands would love it. So maybe I should suggest that. Yeah.
Well, there goes our family-friendly rating, kids.
Yeah.
Oh, let me grab something to drink real quick.
Yeah.
How funny.
I'm still red like a warning light. I think my body temperature is still like 20-30 degrees higher than because I'm coming straight from sauna. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. What now? You guys is it summertime there or is it winter?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you're northern.
It's been a really hot summer here. It's I don't know about Fahrenheit, but it's been too hot.
Really?
Especially because we live in an old wooden building that's been built in 1920s. So when it heats up, it is hot.
So if you don't mind me asking, where are you located at the moment?
Helsinki.
You are in Helsinki.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, how cool. Wow. And it's an area that, I've only just read a little bit about, so I don't know that much about geographically where you're from.
It's between two cultures. You got Russia, ex-Soviet Union, which it's quite important to USA in some ways.
Okay.
And then we got Sweden, which is like the land of total freedom, which isn't kind of true anymore. They are not all about sex all the time. And both of them have ruled Finland, so we have this nice balance. It's been like they've always been the lucky ones, the Swedes. We took the punches from Russians, and there's this balance. And that's why it's great to have that Pepe is actually Finnish Swedish. So Paul is from Sweden, I'm from Finland. Finnish Swedish, so Paul is from Sweden, I'm from Finland, so we get this balance of I come from a country where we have the biggest amount of metal bands per capita, and Paul comes from the land of ABBA, so that's like, you know, I like the tension. And he is the super musician who can, you know, like play and duplicate everything, whereas I'm the director who's coming up with these random ideas and then directing things. And so we got this, like we're working on, like we're playing this idea tennis, and we have totally like different areas where we concentrate on. We don't go stepping on each other's shoes. Also, it's a bit difficult because he lives in New York and I live in Helsinki.
Okay. So now over the years, has it just primarily been like two of you in the band?
Yeah,
or at least that
originally it was three of us on Super Sound, and then Slow left after we got popular. You know, the band broke up after they got popular. Like briefly. I mean, that was like the 50 minutes of fame. And then after the second album, which was like the big transition, Beatitude was the big transition from working with samplers into the world of starting to record things, like moving from samples into things that sound like they've been sampled. And J.A. went on, he never left the group, but he went on, he's like on a permanent vacation. And then at the same time, kind of, you know, I think it was during Supersound when we did 3 ads for Lee Jeans for this company where Paul was originally working. That's how we met originally, Paul. And I kind of, you know, after the project, I stayed in touch with him and encouraged him to go back into the music, because he used to be a musician when he was a younger, and he started sending these tunes to me, and many times like you know, can we turn this into a Pepe tune? So he kind of, you know, and realized that at some point he had written more than half of our singles. So I was like, you know, would you actually like to be an official member? So on Queen of the Wave, he's the official member.
Okay.
On Spare Time Machine, he's already written, like, you know, I think like most of the stuff, but he's like, you know,
really
like slowly coming towards Pepe. And Salami Fever is the first thing we've ever done together, and it's still I think, the best Pepe tunes. It's, you know, it's a tune that the Prodigy has sampled twice, and it's a tune that many people show to, like I got a friend who does mastering. He goes to schools to kind of talk to kids, you know, teenagers about what you can do in music, and he shows that as an example that you can go totally nuts and do stuff that's sort of embarrassing. And he shows that as an example that you can go totally nuts and do stuff that's sort of embarrassing, but it's super cool at the same time, you know.
Right.
Almost naked guys, you know, hitting each other with sausages.
Salami Fever, by far, is one of the wackiest, wildest videos that I've ever seen. Because the first time, actually, it took me a couple of times, and then I'm like, okay, I can kind of appreciate it. First time I saw that, though, I'm like, what are they thinking?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, it was the same. I mean, it was the same with me. I was originally like, you know, that this is not cool enough, because I was still like in the transition of, you know, kind of finding my voice. Because I sort of tried to take pride in it, that as I come from Finland, I have to be the crazy. In Pepe Deluxe, I'm Pepe and he's Deluxe.
And he's Deluxe.
But he's like, at that point, he was kind of showing me the way that it's, instead of trying to have this sort of like pseudo retro coolness, it's actually important to do the wild stuff. It's the stuff that, you know, that you know, most of the stuff that was cool in the 90s, when you go back into all kind of things, like you had all the Massive Attack albums as in the list of the best albums ever, and then they slowly started dropping, and most of the things that were considered super cool in the 90s isn't cool anymore, you know.
Right.
Whereas the crazy stuff is kind of, you know, it's still alive.
Well, and that's what I've noticed, is that some of the genres haven't like stopped. You know, some of them have like just kind of kept progressing. You know, but there is that 20-year cycle though too, that after a band, but you have to break up first though, from what I know, is that you break up and then 20 years later they love you again. You go back on the road, but you play real small bars and like family reunions.
But it's also that people go into all kind of music styles. Like I got a guy who lives quite close to us. He's maybe 20 years younger, and he's making like early 90s type of techno. It's sort of a little bit punchier sound and a little bit, you know, more effective, but it's basically like it's like his 60s sound. I mean, I've never lived in the 60s, but I'm really inspired by that. But it's funny that we got all these styles because I think it's like inverted pyramid. It's the amount of music is constantly expanding, and the amount of styles is constantly expanding. Yeah. And especially with things that in the 90s we used to call underground. All this little that people actually take pride in creating something that is known only to a small group of people, like the fanatic followers.
Exactly. Yeah. But then the underground became the mainstream.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, which is weird.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, and this is.
Why do you treat me like this?
It's going to be a great day with your friends here at Neo Retro FM, Olympia, Washington.
Yeah, boy!
You are listening to Neo Retro FM, out of Olympia, Washington. It's the birthplace of Left Coast Cool. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing our station with everyone you meet.
Yeah, boy!
Experience the new alternative.
It's such a nice state to be in, as you can just let this file play again.
Okay, for example, and this is it might be a bad example, but U2, small punk group from Ireland that went on to be, I mean, like beyond what they should do. Yeah. So it's and isn't it funny, something you mentioned a minute ago, that not necessarily the kids being born today, but say somebody that was born 15, 20 years ago, their field of music is so much broader than what we grew up with. I mean, you know, me, especially my generation, we only had so much to choose from. So by the time that like the avant-garde and new wave and punk rock came along, it's like, okay, finally something that we could kind of claim our own and really love. Whereas these guys, man, punk rock, disco, whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's super positive. But I think one of the biggest dangers of having everything is the sort of thing that when you can access everything immediately, you kind of lose the sort of, you know, the broken telephone thing where you kind of misunderstand things and then kind of spend a lot of time developing your own style and go into like totally new directions. So when you got all these, you know, YouTube instructions and you hear all the music in the world, so that it's kind of, you know, you don't make the wrong choices that easily. Like I had synthesizers for years before I realized that what's the resonance filter, the thing that goes choo. So I just, you know, I kind of use them in the wrong way, but it kind of helped me to find my kind of, you know, voice with that.
But you didn't have a tutorial.
That's a problem of getting all the info immediately.
Mm-hmm. So, and we didn't have tutorials to go off of. No, you created your own tutorial just because as you went along. Wow.
And it was just, I mean, it was so much about just listening and then kind of learning things. And then when you maybe finally saw somebody like the original artist doing it, you go like, oh, you do it that way, so I do it completely different way. Like this, I can't remember the name of the artist, but there's this guy in the US, I think before like 1950s, living in countryside. He was just listening to the radio and hearing this great music, and he didn't realize that there's a concept of a band. So he learned to sing and play banjo and drums and accordion at the same time. Really? And then when he first time, so like, oh, that's the way you do it. So you actually have more guys than one. So kind of him not realizing how it's done helped him to develop this totally, unique way of creating music.
Okay.
And that's what I kind of occasionally try to do. So I'm interested in everything, but I got these phases when I'm not just listening to anything. I try to kind of take ideas.
You can dance if you want to.
Anything. I try to kind of take ideas from visual arts and read a lot of stuff and just kind of let my mind sort of expand into new areas naturally.
Right.
Because there's always this problem where when you have too many things to take inspiration from, it can also be sort of limitations. So you need almost like in a science thing where you spend some time gathering the material, and then you stick to that material and create something out of it. Because otherwise you spend 10 years making an album. That happens so easily.
But you could spend 10 years making an album and have it be incredible. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I wanted to mention one of my first questions to you was that it's been almost 10 years since the last album. But that's not to say that you guys have not been busy. Whether you're, I just checking into like the different projects that you've been working on, you are nonstop. You've been right under the nose of the general public in ways like Angry Birds.
That was fun. We almost said no, but I was actually really happy that we decided to say yes, because the team was so awesome, and we got really like total freedom to work with who we want to work. So we got people like Jens Johansson, which is my childhood hero. My first album that I ever bought was Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, the Swedish guitar hero.
Really?
And his keyboard player is Jens Johansson. So we got him into. That's like that's one of the fun things about Pepe, is that you get these chances and then you use them as both as a creator and also a fan of music. So getting all these people together and
so you still have your fan
because Robbie kind of thought that we just deliver something, and instead we went into this like crazy mood of using like super great musicians, making game music, but making it with real musicians, that kind of stuff. So
how cool. Because as I've tried to describe Pepe to different friends of mine before, different people, usually if you mention Angry Birds, they'll be like, okay. Very few people, I think, at this point in time really remember the Levi's commercials. Levi's, that original ad. Hey, we are getting close on time, and I don't want this thing to shut off and have that be the end of it without us doing a couple of things. First of all, once again, James, thank you so much for taking some time. I've got a couple of quick questions, and then I'll cut you loose. So we can't really say much about this top secret album coming out. When does it drop?
Well, not that much. I mean, we already have the first single out. Big Fat Woodpecker with Horse of Kalevala. Horse of Kalevala. It's one.
Talk about a jumble. You're not a number 9, little cloud of mine. You're blocking the sun.
With Horse of Kalevala. Horse of Kalevala, it's one of my personal top 3 tunes. It's awesome. It's a
masterpiece, actually. I totally dig that. I was listening to it, and thank you again for the treats, by the way. Gosh. The artwork and everything, it just... Oh my gosh! This is all I can say.
Pretty insane,
Wow. But yeah, Big Fat Woodpecker I love. But the Halls of, how is that pronounced?
Kalevala.
Okay.
Kalevala. Yeah.
Now, is that going to be the second single, do you think, or?
No, it's the B-side. It's the B-side. That's a whole package, because the Big Fat Woodpecker is all about the surface and there's some catchy, silly nonsense, whereas the B-side is completely opposite. So it's this huge thing with all these little details going into it, and
how cool.
and featuring the voice of Cyrus Faria, who's the voice on the first ever synth rock album, Zodiac Cosmic Sound. You know, this is him 54 years later. And that's one of my favorite albums too. And it was actually, it was recorded by Chip Douglas, who's actually the producer of the Monkees. So I heard it, that, only afterwards, like, wow, that's true, yeah. So that's also the fun thing about Pepe, that things like this happen to us constantly.
And you've got to look at that as being a good sign too.
It is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to do two last things, and then I do want to let you know, though, once my guests walk through this door here, my door is always open to you. You want to come back in somewhere down the road and have another visit anytime, I'm totally down with that.
Excellent.
So, first of all, let me ask, so how are you guys doing in this pandemic, COVID kind of world that we've got going on?
I mean, pretty well. It's sort of normal for us, because most of the time creating music is this long times of planning things and writing stuff and working in the studio, and you get this what we call studio time. That was my wife.
Hi.
So,
She has
so
no
you get
head.
this, studio time. So it's actually more normal for us to spend time away from people. So
okay.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of artists made it work for them, that's for sure.
Yeah. A lot of writing has been happening, which is a really good thing. There's going to be a lot of albums released. Yeah.
Okay. And remind me again, when does the album come out?
It's end of October.
So it's actually not all that far down the road then. It's getting close.
Yeah. There's going to be probably one single before that, and lots of little things, because we have to kind of give people ideas about all the.
So I took what I could get. Yes, I took what I could get, and then she looked at me with those big brown eyes, and then she said, "You ain't seen nothing yet, baby. You just ain't seen nothing yet."
You are listening to Neo Retro FM, out of Olympia, Washington. It's the birthplace of Left Coast Cool. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing our station with everyone you meet.
We're cramming more music into every hour that we can. More music, less talk, here on Neo Retro FM.
Today's your day. Go make the most of it. And take us with you wherever you go. We are...
She has just retired from a long engagement in France and a short marriage in Spain. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the surrealist woman.
Slow sinks the sun, and I'm looking for the one.
Have to kind of give people ideas about all the crazy instruments and the people we'll be working with us.
How cool.
I mean, one guy was asking that is it all going to be in the artwork, and I said the artwork is like this, there's no room for that. It's like every single there's like dozens and dozens of these incredible instruments, and every single one is like a long story, so it could be a huge book. So the only way to sort of kind of release the stuff is by dividing it into small chunks, and so it's going to be YouTube videos and posts and some artwork thing, and we don't know even yet what's going to be happening.
Very cool.
Lots of material.
Well, I've been reposting your stuff, so I'm getting Pepe out there as much as I can too. And you guys are also being heard on the station on a regular basis, which is kind of cool.
Okay, excellent. Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the last things I want to ask, well, I want to ask you a couple, but we are, like I said, running out of time.
Cuts opening up on his face and eyes becoming bruised.
Awesome. Cool. Well, James Spectrum, thank you again so much.
Thank
Guys,
you.
this is DJ D Phoenix. You've been watching the Groove Zones, the sessions, and I've been hanging for a while with James Spectrum and Pepe Deluxe today. Do check them out. Actually, pepedeluxe.com.
Yeah, it kind of works, and we probably use Facebook a little bit more and YouTube.
Okay, and everybody's familiar with Facebook, so yeah, check them out on Facebook.
Kind of, yeah. It's like it's for us old people.
Whatever. All right, and do check out Big Fat Woodpecker. Cool stuff.
Yep.
There's awesome stuff still to come by these guys, so do. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this important message. All right, over and out.
Okay.
All right, my friend.
Take it.
Hi guys, we are Soldiers of Monochrome. We are live on Neo Retro FM.
Just like that.